I find great relief in the fact that as an adult, there are other adults out there who suffer from the same issue that I do, and that is a lack of general understanding or a lack of general knowledge of what it is that they are fucking doing on a day-to-day basis. Like, genuinely, it is the biggest relief to know that I'm not the only one who wakes up every day, wings it for the entirety of the day, and then goes home and goes to bed, which is the one thing that I'm confident I know how to do properly. And I'm glad that it's not something that is just me, where that whole idea of no one actually knows what the fuck it is that they are doing. They sort of just get up, they go to work, they wing it for the entire shift, and then they come home and then they do whatever they want to, and then they go to bed. And it was very relieving to find that out, sort of, because I am 21 years old. I turn 22 in a few months. And it's so weird as an adult who doesn't live with his parents anymore, who doesn't live with family, who's renting a room nowhere near where I grew up, at least in terms of the locality of my city. Where I grew up was very much the south of the city. I'm very much out to the east now. And it's very interesting how much my life has shifted over the course of the time since I've become an adult. When I became an adult initially, I had a full-time job where I was getting drastically underpaid, which I quit after 3 months, and then I didn't work for a year, and then I got a start a job at fucking Macca's, and I worked at Macca's for a year and a half, and I worked my way up the food chain there and became a manager. And then I've just been jumping from job to job like the last, however many years at this point since I moved. Since I moved out of home, it's been 2 years, I think. 2 years, yeah. And I've just been jumping from job to job, making things work. And I keep failing my way upwards, and I have no idea how I do it. And it's so weird as an adult, looking back at the last 2 years and just thinking how different of a person I was back then. And this last few weeks in my life has been a very tumultuous experience for me. So I've been doing a lot of introspection. I try to do my best to do as much introspection as possible on a general level, and try to think about why I do things and how I do things and why I am the way I am. And something that I've realized is that it definitely feels like my life is a chaptered experience, where there's the period of me growing up where everything was pretty homogenous. There wasn't very much in the way of life-changing events, like things that drastically altered my perception of the world, until I was about 15, nearly 16, where I decided that I didn't want to follow Christianity like the rest of my family did. And I made that decision to switch away from Christianity to something that I felt like fit with me more like personally, and tried to live as myself instead of what my parents wanted me to be. I started engaging with things that my parents may not have approved of in the hopes of finding out more accurately who I am as a person. And invariably, this was a good thing for me. And I'm glad that I made that shift when I was 15. And that was the sort of end of that chapter in my life. The end of that sort of like fear and that sort of like, fear is the best word for it, where it's the fear of God and the fear of my parents and the fear of what they think of me, and doing my best to improve myself and learn how to socialize better and learn how to be a better person for me. And I think that was the end of like, that was the first major chapter change in my life. Chapter in the sense of like, you know how like you finish a book and there's like that bittersweet feeling of just like that chapter, or that book, I guess, is over, that story is over, and you're onto a new story. And even reading like a series of books, reading Lord of the Rings, or my personal favorite book series, Christopher Paolini's Inheritance Cycle, I very much noticed that, where each book felt like its own self-contained experience, which I found very interesting, which I didn't realize when I was a kid, but looking back, I find very interesting. And then moving forward in my life, sort of, I think the next big chapter change was moving out of home. Obviously, there was other big life-changing events that happened between those periods, between the age of 15 and the age of 19 when I moved out of home, we literally moved entire cities. My parents, because I didn't have a job at the time, so I couldn't stay in this city, my parents just moved me to another city. And moving out of my parents' house and moving back to the city that I was born and raised in, and that whole like shift in, I no longer work because I want to, I now work because I have to. And I have to figure out how to make ends meet. I have to figure out how to feed myself. I have to figure out how to make sure the bills are paid, the rent's paid. I have to figure out what to do if my car breaks down, if my tire pops. I have to figure out what to spend my money on and how I can spend my money on things that I enjoy without taking away from the fact that I need to have some form of savings and also pay my bills, pay my rent, pay my food, pay my car, all that jazz. And it was also a very interesting period of my life in terms of social changes, where going from that core high school friend group where they're all gone now, or apart from one, most of my high school friend group doesn't talk to me anymore, and I don't talk to them. They're all living their own lives with their own journeys, and outside of me and this one friend, we don't talk to any of them anymore. And that's learning to live with the fact that I'm sometimes just going to lose friends has been a really hard experience for me to learn. And it's something I think I've gotten better at. Obviously, every time I look back at who I was a year ago, I feel like I'm more mature and more developed as a person than I was back then. But even looking back now, it's like I feel like I'm so much more at peace with the fact that sometimes people just won't be in my life anymore. Obviously, there's still that like that I miss that friend that I had in high school that I met online, and we talked every single day, and it was a fantastic friendship. And I miss that person, and I wish they were still in my life. But I also understand that there were mistakes I made and mistakes they made, and just the general, they have a different life to me. They have their own things going on. They have their own friends, their own partners, yada, yada, yada. And it's just not going to work out trying to maintain a friendship like that when our lives are so violently different from each other. And yeah, that was something that took me a while to adjust to. That and just learning to talk to people. It's something I'm still working on. I always struggled with social interaction growing up. I was never good with people. I wasn't very popular. I got bullied a lot. I am not angry or bitter about it anymore like I used to be. But I do regret that I didn't take action sooner to try and fit in more. And fit in the sense of do what everyone else is doing. Fit in the sense of try to be someone that people want to be around while maintaining being true to yourself. Because my parents had this whole ideal that they reinforced into me that was be yourself and friends will come. This isn't, in my opinion, inherently true. It's more be true to yourself and don't put yourself into positions where you don't feel like you're being, or don't, that's not the right word, but it's like, don't try to be someone you're not, but also try to take the steps to fit in and to make friends. And obviously high school was hard for that because high school kids are dickheads. Like, that's just invariably true. But I wish I'd learned that lesson sooner of like trying to be myself while still being someone who could talk to other people. And I think I've gotten better at that. I'm much better at, I like to think I'm well spoken, but I'm much better at putting my thoughts into words when there's not someone else in front of me to direct those words at. I don't have that pressure that like, am I going for too long? Am I rambling? Am I making sense? Do they hate me? What's going on here? Whereas I can just sit in front of a microphone and just talk. And right now I was literally just 10 minutes ago trying to record a video that I had scripted. I'm just like, I can't, it's not me. Like, I don't know how to say these words that I've written down in a way that's me. And that sucks because I like writing as a way to express my thoughts, but I don't know how to write something that I would express vocally, I guess. So it just sounds like forced and alien to me when I'm recording it. And it just made it very difficult. That's why I'm just sort of just sitting here and talking to a piece of metal and machine on my desk and hoping something of interest comes out. But the most recent chapter change in my life, I've never felt so distinctly like something in my life was over. My partner and I broke up a week or two ago, and this video is not about that. That's not what's important here. But it was so weird driving home that day and thinking to myself and just driving up this road, this like long straight road with the hills on the horizon and like the trees coming up on either side and like the sun like around midday just piercing down through the trees, and thinking my life is going to be completely different from this point because I've just gotten this, like, I've gotten so used to having this person in my life. And while they're still in my life, we're still friends. Having that person who is always there, always on my mind, always someone I was thinking about, always just a part of who I was, and not having that anymore felt so, like, strange and alien. But it also was kind of freeing in the sense where I feel like I have so much more room to discover who I am and also improve on myself, which I don't know why. Like, I don't know what being in a relationship versus being out of a relationship changed, but I just felt like I couldn't find who I was while being in a relationship. And I have no idea why that's the case. Like, I could still make the efforts to improve where I need to improve, work on my social skills, work on my physical health, my mental health. I can still do that in the context of a relationship, but it felt impossible, and I have no idea why. And it was just so weird to me where it's like that same melancholic feeling that I had finishing Inheritance by Christopher Paolini for the first time, and watching the main character, or I guess reading the main character, sail off or ride off into the sunset, never to come back to this continent ever again, and feeling that just like despair, that melancholy of just this story is over, and I'll never know what happens to him after that. He's released more books in the series since then, and I'm not sure if they cover more of that stuff because I haven't read them yet. But it was weird to me when I was a little kid reading that, because it felt so sad and lonely that story was over. And that's how I felt driving home after having that breakup, having that discussion, and just driving home and just like feeling like my life was different and everything has changed, and I'm still feeling it. There's this loneliness that has crept up into my life that I've forgotten about. I'd never had a girlfriend before this person, and I've been lonely my entire life. I never had someone that loved me unequivocally, because I don't feel like my parents did love me. They say they do, but they were kind of pieces of shit, and nothing has ever been acknowledged about the fact that they were kind of pieces of shit. And I always felt so alien, and this is the first person I didn't feel like an alien with, outside of like my closest friend. And I do feel kind of lonely now, sitting in my room after a long day of work and not having that person there to talk to, and just playing games and working out and doing all this shit. And it's just so bizarre. And I've sort of realized in this journey of self-discovery that I think I've developed, or not even developed, I think it's just I've always had this form of imposter syndrome where I never feel like I deserve what I have. I've been managing in fast food and restaurants for the last 2 years. Yeah, roughly 2 years. Nearly 3 years, actually. Coming close up on 3 years, I think. No, yeah, because 2025 is actually, holy shit, it's been 3 years. Been managing in restaurants for nearly 3 years, and it's just like, I don't know how I'm still hired. Like my friend, like, because I currently work under a franchise. The franchise partner that I'm under is great. Definitely a lot more respect for her employees than other management I've had in the past or whatever. But it still feels like every single day I finish the shift and I sit in my car and I decompress and I'm like, how in God's good name have I not been fired yet? How do, like, my franchise partner was telling me a few weeks ago that they have plans to hopefully move me up to a like restaurant manager or a general manager position. And that's so weird, where it's like, I don't deserve that. I don't deserve to be in a higher position. I can barely handle the position I'm in, but apparently I'm doing a good job, because I wouldn't have gotten this offer if I hadn't been doing a good job, but I don't feel like I'm doing a good job. Same with YouTube, where part of YouTube is I don't feel like I deserve what I have, and I don't think my content's worth it. But there's also this like issue where I've come to the realization recently that I'm getting all this growth from people who aren't coming here for me. And I realized that some content that is made for that encapsulates me, or that is made where I'm the focus, has done well. Those videos always peter out in views after a little while. The videos that haven't petered out are the ones where they're not coming for me, they're coming for what I have to offer. The guides. My top 5 most watched videos for like the last several months have just all been guide videos, where people come in, they watch the video, but they're not coming for me, they're not staying for me. They watch the videos and then they bugger off. And I'm like, I don't know how to make content that sort of captures me and that will make people want to stay for me. There's obviously the narrative focused content, the story content, but I don't know how to keep maintaining that world. I don't know what direction to take it. I've got a project that I'm working on that's just taking me so long, and I'm excited to get it done, and I'm hoping to make a big video out of it. But outside of those videos, it's like I sort of realized that I'm uploading these modded Minecraft video logs, which I for the time being will keep doing, but I'm not providing anything new to the table, and I don't think people are staying for me. And that's why I think a lot of my statistics show that a lot of the people that are coming to the channel are brand new and not returning, because they're not, like, people aren't staying for me, they're staying for what I can offer, which isn't a bad thing, don't get me wrong. That, like, you don't have to engage with every creator that you come across on the platform. If they provide a useful tool for you, you're free to drop a like, or not drop a like, leave a view, and then use that information however you see fit. There's nothing wrong with that. It just is kind of saddening that I've come to this realization that outside of the narrative videos, I don't really have any content that encapsulates who I am and what I want to do. And I don't know how to make content that encapsulates who I am and what I want to do. Just because, like, for example, the Let's Play format. I initially attempted to copy the style of some other modded Minecraft creators and have that sort of, like, in-depth, sort of in the technical on how things are done, and like these time lapses in these well-produced videos. But I'm not. They did like shit, and they weren't really that good, because when I'm recording, I can't focus on recording and playing at the same time. I don't know how to do that. I'm not very good at that, and so when I'm recording these videos, I'm sort of just umming and awing, and let me do that, let me do that, let me do that, and it's like, this isn't engaging content that's providing something that isn't being irked by a million other creators. There's 10,000 billion trillion other people who are doing the exact same type of content. What makes me different? And I don't know what makes me different. I do want to explore more in videos that encapsulate who I am a little bit more, but I'm kind of at a loss right now for what to do to sort of encapsulate that. And it sucks from, like, because I want to do more video essays as well, but I've come to this realization with that where I am naturally very gifted with English, like in the sense of writing and reading and speaking to an extent. I think I'm pretty good at speaking, but I've come to the realization recently that a lot of my skill in writing only is up to a high school level, where I was really good in high school. I could make straight A's in English in high school. That doesn't carry forth into creating meaningful content on the internet because there's a higher caliber of competency that's expected of someone to be able to excel in that particular like niche of video essays. And I don't have that skill, and it's broadly apparent with like looking at some of my videos where people will leave these comments being like, hey, you said this thing, but you also said this thing that doesn't make any sense. And naturally, me being kind of a pussy, I'll be like, oh yeah, I should have thought that through better, yada yada. But I stand by the points that I made. I just am not good at encapsulating what it is I'm trying to say. A good example being in the difficulty, the easy mode debate for the From Software games, where I made this point earlier in the video where, or throughout the entire video, that the games shouldn't have an easy mode because it takes away from the intended experience. But then a few minutes later, I'm like, hey, it's okay to use cheats if that's what you want to do. And there was a comment being like, what? So it's okay to use cheats, but it's not okay to have an easy mode in the game? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And I walked back on it at the time because I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. But I stand by it. And here's the reason. So when you have a piece of art, whether it be an artwork, like a painting, a book, a movie, a TV show, or a video game, there is almost always an intended experience to that particular piece of media, where there is always something that the developer's trying to tell you, or trying to make you feel, or trying to do with the experience. I don't even think it's possible to make art without intent. There's good intent and there's bad intent. Don't get me wrong. Like, I would say like Marvel movies, for example, despite the fact that I liked a lot of the Marvel movie, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe up until Endgame, that the movies aren't, from an artistic standpoint, trying to speak. They aren't trying to like establish a theme or like this idea that they're trying to convey in like a deep emotional way. The intent is to make a movie that's cool and fun to watch. There's elements of that more depth to it, where you can see it in the characters and the way they interact and yada yada yada, that there is more depth to it, but the intent is to make an enjoyable sit down, turn off your brain and watch movie. And when it comes to video games, a perfect example of the argument that I'm trying to make here is that one Sekiro article from ages ago that spawned that awful copy pasta that you've achieved a hollow victory, you have lost nothing and gained nothing, yada yada yada. And people parrot that to this day, and they don't understand the context of the article. I haven't read the whole thing through, but to my understanding, it's generally pretty positive. The point that the dude was trying to make is, I like this game, but I lacked the skills to beat the final boss, and so I used a mod to do it, and here are the areas where I think the game is good and the areas I think the game is bad. I don't think at any point he discusses the quality of the game in relation to what the modded experience is like. He might be like, oh, I enjoyed the boss fight against Ishin more when it was slowed down, but he's not like going, oh yeah, I played the whole game through modded and the combat's really good, because that doesn't encapsulate what the game's about. That wouldn't be experiencing the developer's intention, and therefore you can't make an accurate review about the game and about the developer's intention when you haven't experienced that intention. And if you want to violate that intention, just in general, this is no longer about that article. If you want to go into Dark Souls or Elden Ring or Bloodborne or Sekiro, and you want to use a third-party mod to alter the experience in a fundamental way to make the game easier, you should be allowed to do that, and that is valid. But you're making the active decision when you make that change that you are violating the developer's intended experience. And you may enjoy it. You may love the game with an easy mode. Then that's great. You may not like it. You may hate it. You may think it's boring and dull. And it's the sort of thing where it's like, you can still criticize the games that weren't affected by the fact that it was modded. You can be like, I don't think the visual environment is very interesting. That's a valid critique. Or not valid, it's a valid opinion. It's not a valid critique, it's a valid opinion. Because whether or not the environments in Dark Souls look good isn't a fact or not a fact. It is a fact or a lie, I guess. It's an opinion, and everyone has differing opinions. I think Dark Souls 3 looks really good. A lot of people think it doesn't. They think it looks too grey. I disagree. I think that game looks gorgeous. But you can still have that discussion. Whereas something like if you use a mod to make every single weapon one-shot every single boss, and you walk through the game in like an hour, then, and if you had a good time, great. If you didn't, that's fine. But you can't participate meaningfully in discussion regarding the quality of the combat of the game if you haven't experienced it the way the developer intended. And that was the point I was trying to make in that video, where everyone should be allowed to use third-party mods to be able to alter a game's experience, but they can't meaningfully discuss it or discuss aspects of it that they only experienced through the context of modding. Like Witcher 3, for example. I love The Witcher 3. It's one of my favorite games, but I hate the whole durability mechanic, and I hate the fact that the vendors barely have any coin. So I use mods to get rid of that. I used a mod to give the vendors more coin and remove the durability. Remove the durability. And I think that enhances the game for me. I still have my issues with the game. Aside from those, I'm currently still stuck on my New Game Plus Deathmarch playthrough. I'm stuck up on the Crone's fight with Ciri because it is genuinely, okay, this is subjective, not objective, but I think it is terribly designed, in my opinion, where they barely take any damage and you take a lot of damage, and you don't have that same like access to resources to help you heal like you do with Geralt. You're stuck with Ciri, who has slow regeneration, and I personally think that that's a bad mechanic. And I'd probably use a mod to get rid of it, if I could. If I could just use a mod to skip the boss fight. Probably would, to be honest, because I don't like it. One second, let me have a drink. That's not the point that we're talking about right now. The point is, I don't do a good job of encapsulating my points always. I think this video I've done a better job at it, but I always come out of a video that I record thinking, how could I have said that better? I'm like, oh, I could have said this better, I could have said that better. Especially the gender war one from a few months ago. Looking back at that video, while I stand by the points that I made, a lot of it could be improved. A lot of it. It was not well written at all. And I have no idea what I was thinking when I was recording it. Or writing it, I guess. But yeah, it's been weird, that whole realization that I'm not as good at English as I thought I was, good at writing, good at speaking as I thought I was. And that's been a very humbling experience, but it's also been fantastic because it's like, I now have room to grow as a creator. I want to create more stuff that makes me happy. And that's why I keep doing the modern Minecraft video logs, because what those are about isn't about creating it is about creating something for an audience, but it's mostly just for me, where I have this thing that I need to share with people. Like I need to like show people what it is that I've created, what I've done, how I've done it. Maybe they can take information that I've learned and use it to help themselves. And I think that's really fun and cool. I love doing that when it comes to content. I want to keep doing it, but I also want to figure out content that lets me express myself creatively in a way that's actually creatively expressful, if you know what I mean. Because the modern Minecraft video log videos, they aren't creatively expressful or expressive, I guess. They are me wanting to share something and hoping that people want to see what I want to share. And people seem to be enjoying them. They get a decent amount of views and a decent amount of positive comments. And I do appreciate that a lot. So I'm glad people are enjoying them, but I don't want to make that my whole shtick, because I don't feel like that's something that a new person can come along and be engaged with. It's sort of supplementary content to the stuff that's actually creatively fulfilling for me. But I'm just so tired. Like, it's so exhausting. Every single day, I wake up tired, I go to work tired, I work tired, I come home tired, I play games tired, and I go to sleep tired. I'm never not tired. And I have these ideas for ways I want to creatively express myself, but I lack the discipline to be able to manifest those ideas into reality. I've had this awesome idea for a video that's been floating around in my head since I uploaded the AE2 one back in fucking February or March or whatever, and it's still floating around in my head. I'm like, God, I want that to be real. I want to make that into a thing that people can see, but I don't have the motivation or the energy to create it. I don't have the energy to create that, to record that run, to do the detail, to figure it out, how to make the run work, how to make the editing work, how to make it in the style that I want to. I lack the discipline to be able to do that, and I also lack the energy, where it's like, I want to make more narrative content. I want to expand the world of the story that I've created, this idea that's in my head, but I don't know where to take it, and I don't know how to take it to where I want to take it. I don't know how to take it to where I want to take it. I also don't know where to take it, if you know what I mean. My brain is very much a jumbled mess of things flying at each other pretty much constantly. It's a chronic habit of overthinking that I've had for pretty much as long as I can remember, ever since I was yet little. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's about all that I wanted to say with this. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Yeah, I do appreciate if you've made it this far. I'm not going to expect many people to. This is very much a video of just a random 21-year-old dickhead staring at his microphone and just talking out of his ass for half an hour. But I hope that someone will watch this and they will enjoy it, and it'll... I don't know what I'm intending with this video. I like how I said all art has intent, but I wouldn't classify this as art. This isn't a form of artistic expression for me. This is me having this need to put what I have to say out there. This desire to be like, I can't let these thoughts stay in my head, and I need to put them out there so that someone else can hear them. And it's very cathartic for me. That's why this video has been so long, and it's been so sort of tangent, because I have this need for people to put what I have to stay out there. And if people see it, awesome. If people don't see it, such is life. That's just the way that things are, unfortunately. But I hope that if anyone did make it this far, that you did enjoy. And yeah, I think that's about all I have to say. Subscribe if you feel like it. Like if you feel like it. It's really up to you. Yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and have a fantastic rest of your day.